You're tuned in to the Dakota Housing Network on Supertalk 1270 and supertalk1270.com. In-depth discussion and analysis of real estate issues nationwide and those issues unique to our area. Our team of experts includes Joe Sheehan, Greg Larson, Dave Floor, Brian Ritter, and a great variety of guests. The Dakota Housing Network begins now on Supertalk 1270 and supertalk1270.com.
Good morning, Bismarck Man and Dave Floor here, and
Joe Sheehan, the Joe-mobile is in Bismarck, North Dakota today.
Joe-mobile, you're in town. Wow. Yay. Yeah. So,
fantastic.
Where was it last week? You were gone last week.
We need to get you guys,
before?
like there's a Find a Phone app, We need the Find a Joe app.
Find a Joe app.
No, nobody cares that much. Actually.
I don't think. I'm not sure who would use that.
I can't think of
your daughters.
I'm
maybe?
not even sure my daughters would for sure use it. They just
we'll find them eventually.
They only care if I'm. Yeah, he'll find us.
Yeah, he'll find us.
He'll find us. Yeah, he'll find us.
Yeah,
so
okay, all right.
I don't know that anybody would even buy it. And number of users, 0.
Would you use it for yourself?
My mom might.
Your mom would. You could
Mom,
just ask
Mom would
download
subscribe to the app.
Yeah. Well, Joe, just to make you feel better, I'd download it too.
Okay, just to make sure it's an even number.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay, all right.
All right, well, welcome
Where
to...
Where is that guy?
Yeah, welcome to the Dakota Real Estate Network. We are, there's bad news on interest rates while we've been...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yep.
I mean, it's bad because, let's go to the Freddie Mac primary mortgage market.
We're going to find out how bad it has been.
30-year fixed rate mortgage at 3.98%.
Oh my!
With 0.6 fees, 0.6 in fees, and 15-year fixed rate mortgage at 3.2. And fixed rate fees. And so let's go to the archive and see what that's up from. That's up from 3.87% and 3.09%. That is pretty significant moves in a week based on how stable they've been for quite some time.
Yeah.
And the fact that they've been going down and improving for so long.
We're still lower than a year ago, though.
Yeah. I mean, there's still no reason to wait till after Christmas.
No.
If you want a good interest rate, if you're thinking about buying or refinancing, or if there's some reason to do it, I mean, it's still a great time to do it. And historically speaking, the rates are they are experiencing some headwinds. Let's go ahead and see what the mortgage market guide's saying in regards to interest rates today. They are saying mortgage bonds are near unchanged as they try to stabilize near the July lows, which means that they're near the July highs because they're talking about the bond market. The bond has lost nearly 200 basis points since the peak seen on October 26th. So basically our best rates were around October 26th. Yep. There are technical headwinds for bonds, which we will get to shortly. The only economic report due is weekly initial jobless claims, which were unchanged from last week and thus had little impact. And there's going to be some more. There's a big bond sale later today, yada, yada, yada.
If you care, there's one number I think that you could look at like today.
And that would be...
It gets the end of the day and you're watching the news on one of the TV stations and they always give the stuff. If the 10-year Treasury yield is above 233, then rates could jump up more.
They could jump up more.
Yep, because that's a ceiling for the 10-year Treasury. So if it breaks above that today and sustains that, then rates will probably go up because there's a lot of room to move up.
Well, and here, this will definitely not help the market.
Okay.
There will be a host of Fed members speaking around the country today.
Oh, that's
highlighted by
bad.
Fed Chair Yellen.
Bad.
Speaking at 9:30. Feds Evans, Dudley, and Fisher are also speaking today. Monetary policy could be touched upon. Fed and futures now show a 66% chance of a rate hike in December, up from 39% a month ago.
My how times change quickly.
Technically, the chart gives us concern. And at this time, the 10-year trade, and that's talking about the resistance at 230. So if it breaks, you're exactly right. If it breaks to 233,
I got something right.
So that's what I'm saying. They're agreeing with you. Clients should be advised to lock.
They're agreeing with me. Yeah.
Right. So they're saying basically lock them if you got them. Yeah. Because if as you're saying, if we get that number, then
there's a room for rates to go up quite a bit. Yeah.
Yep.
And a sustained rally up, I guess, if you want to call it that. I think the Fed president should be banned from speaking. I don't think they should be able to go out and give speeches because everybody just, oh boy, they're speaking today. What are they going to say? And then the markets move.
And then the markets move, and in an era of transparency where they're not, where you get them, you have them go out and in fact, like one Fed today is already. Let's go to the news feed.
Okay.
Okay, so you got the ECB's Draghi reasserting readiness to expand the stimulus program. So basically, Europe's ready to spend more money.
QE in Europe.
Yep, QE to keep rates low there. Fed's Evans, worried about global risks, especially what we'll see in a few months, said last month's jobs growth was very strong here in the U.S. But so you have a Fed come out and say he's worried about global risks. Well, what does that mean? Fed also, Evans, dissatisfied with inflation, wants slow rate movement.
Okay.
Well, slow rate movement could be zero in December.
He might vote for not raising rates.
Right. So, and so just depending on what you think is out there. And again, folks, as we talk about the Fed changing its key interest rate, the overnight funds, Fed funds rate, that doesn't necessarily mean that that'll drive mortgage rates up.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is normally the Fed's movement on interest rates is in relationship to what they think the market's going to do or what the market needs. And so bonds react to that. So if the Fed's saying they think the market's strong and inflation's on the way, the reason why mortgage rates would go up would be because people move into the market and sell out of mortgage bonds, which would drive mortgage rates up. Now, many times the Fed hiking interest rates in the short term has a counter effect. It gets people worried that the Fed moved too fast, and if people feel like that, and it has a negative impact on the market, it causes mortgage rates to lower.
Yeah.
In that initial first term right after.
We saw that with the quantitative easing that happened.
And we kept telling people rates are going to go down when the Fed's done spending money.
Yeah.
And they did every time.
They did
every time.
But you know what? I've got the answer for why rates have been low.
Okay, give us the answer. I think we got a minute, 2 minutes.
It comes from the guy who knows everything, Donald Trump. He knows. He does. He just knows.
He even knows more about oil than us because he's got more oil and cars in his garages than we have oil in North Dakota.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. He accuses President Obama and Yellen of conspiring to keep interest rates low. Why does he know this? He just knows. He says because they're not raising rates because Obama has asked them not to raise them. He wants to get out of office because we're in a bubble, and when those rates are raised, a lot of bad things are going to happen. So there you go. Donald Trump, that's the only place you need to go.
It's not completely unreasonable to say that a president might talk to a Fed chair, though, and say,
maybe.
Here's what my people are telling me, Fed.
Donald likes conspiracies, I think. Yeah. All right. Well, Neil Young's birthday today, 70 years old, Jim. So, all right, we're going out on Neil Young.
When we come back, we got stuff about your personal inflation rate and other stuff.
Right now, 37.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
And we are back here on the Dakota Housing Network. Myself, Joe Sheehan, the Joe Mobiles in Bismarck, North Dakota, and my co-host
Dave Floor. Just downloaded the Joe Mobile app on my phone, and I found him. He's right here. Okay. Jim is playing Neil Young for us, like a hurricane there. That's what the wind's like out there.
It is windy out there.
Yeah,
but it's a blustery day.
We have we left talking about more interest rates, what interest rates could do. A part of that we were leaving with Evans talking about concerns about global issues. So we'll just kind of wrap that up, and then we got a great article here from the folks at Malden on your own personal inflation rate. We've got another one on the crime and job reports. We've got stuff on Freddie Mac losing money, but not really. Freddie's kind of upset about the way that report went out. Oh. And then we also got some stuff about who are the banks supporting for president.
Ooh, I haven't heard that.
Who are the banks giving the most of their money to?
Oh, well, that'll be fun to know.
And so if you want to call into the show, what's the number here? 663-1270 or something like that.
Yep. Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, 663-1270. So you can call in here and talk about that. But here's
so we were talking at the break.
Yep.
Okay, global concerns by Fed Board of Guy Evans. Is he He's St. Louis, or I don't know where.
I thought you were going to say, is he sane?
Is he sane? Well, that too. But no, he addressed global concerns, which would lead you to think he maybe isn't necessarily going to vote for a rate hike.
He wants to see slow interest rate. It doesn't mean he wouldn't, but he wants to see it slow.
So he's got global concerns. Now, you ran across something about China.
Our buddy Elliot, who says things in great form and fashion in very few words. China's economy continues to slowly weaken. Year-over-year inflation is just 1.3% and declining. Producer prices fell 5.9% and have been falling for 44 consecutive months. Imports fell 18.8%, primarily due to slowing demand for raw materials from the heavy industry, and exports dropped 6.9%, while the party, capital P, will do its best to boost growth and avoid a hard landing. China poses the biggest single downside risk to the global economy.
There's your global concern right there.
And you do. 8% growth. And like when we're talking about where we're trying to get our GDP to 2.5.
Hey, it's 3. Whoa. For that quarter, it was 3. Yeah.
But China's growth, if it's at 8% GDP, they're treading water.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
they're treading water.
Yeah.
So these numbers, when you look at them in relationship to ours, you got to understand what they have to actually produce to keep that economy in a forward moving cycle. And so, it's big. I mean, it's a big problem.
Their inflation rate 1.3% and dropping.
1.3% and dropping. Imagine deflation in China.
So they're below us.
Right.
On inflation
right.
numbers.
Imagine deflation in that economy.
Yeah, that'd be big.
Nobody likes that.
They have some real issues there with their aging. They have an aging population that's probably worse than ours. Because of
they have no girls.
They have no girls. Their policies,
they're going to try to get some girls because they recently approved the 2.
Yeah, but now you
can go to 2.
Now people, they said, will that work?
Boys, I'm sure.
They don't.
I'm sure people are still going to look for 2 boys.
Yeah, they don't want to have a whole bunch of kids. Because they got to.
You got to pay for them.
They got to pay for them now. Yeah.
Oh.
So there's some real issues there, and that definitely can be a big effect. No question.
Yeah.
It's a huge piece of the world economy there.
It is. It's massive, and they have massive infrastructure needs.
Yes. Yeah. They're probably worse than us.
Oh,
for that. I mean, without a doubt.
Without a doubt,
yeah.
Because they still have people who are carrying buckets on bamboo rods
and
in
just
the country
the fact that
to farm with.
I've been to China, and that was over 10 years ago, and the smog. I remember we got in there at night and woke up the next morning and I said, "Oh, it's hazy outside." Opened the motel window and it's hazy. Oh, we got outside. That was smog. We were in Beijing, and that's only gotten worse. And I get it is, and they have all this coal-fired plants. I mean, they have just issues, and you hear about the traffic jams they have. I mean, like you said, infrastructure is big over there.
Yeah, it's a problem. So anyway, so these are the global concerns we're talking about, which means, I know that they say that it's a 66% chance now of the Fed increasing the interest rate or raising or giving us an interest rate at all in December.
Yeah.
Versus up 39%, I think they said, or was it 39%?
Yeah.
Or up from 39%.
I'm
going to hold out, be a little skeptical.
Oh yeah.
I just see news like this, and it's a long time till that December meeting.
Wait, are you trying to make me bet you again?
No. I'm not. I honestly, I don't know, but this keeps me skeptical because I look at these big problems. I look at the fact that Europe's going to keep printing money.
Yeah.
All the news that we've got says there's still nothing good.
No.
And if they raise it, they're going to raise it on the backs of a Christmas economy in the United States. And so even if they raise the interest rate, I'm not sure we're not going to have better mortgage rates at the beginning of the year, because as soon as we get past the positive Christmas hangover, I don't know where the good news comes from.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you have higher interest rates, I don't know that you don't have anything but more bad news.
Yeah.
And we may be back in the 3s.
So rates might be low. So
rates
and
I
have an
the Fed rate might be up, and mortgage rates might be even better.
And you know what? I have something about why winter is a good time to list your house for sale.
All right.
We'll talk about that. That'll be one of the reasons.
Let's go to your own personal inflation rate.
From our buddy John Malden.
And I love these quotes on here. Inflation is as violent as a mugger as frightening as an armed robber and as deadly as a hitman, says Ronnie Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
And then you read the next one from Janet.
Okay, to me, a wise and humane policy is occasionally to let inflation rise, even when inflation is running above target. We're yelling for Yellen there. Yellen for Yellen. Janet Yellen said that.
We're gelling for Yellen.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead. Okay. You run this. You run this story.
Okay, so this came from John Malden. His thoughts from the front line blog that he writes every week, and he talked about what is inflation? Where do we get the numbers from? You've got you're looking at GDP, but
they take out food, they take out energy,
they take all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and with the
almost everything you pay a lot of money on. Housing.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics folks actually go out and buy stuff to get the consumer price index. They go out and buy stuff. They survey families every quarter to find out what they buy, and they look at food and beverages, housing, apparel, all this stuff. And depending upon what measure of inflation you're looking at, they pull out things like you said, housing, etc. But they look at things like this is a good word, hedonic quality. Do you know what hedonic adjustment? That's a fancier way of saying higher quality, right? Okay.
Yep.
So in John's experience here, or what he's talking about is, you buy work computers for years, and you always spend around $2,000, and that can be for the equipment plus software, etc. But if you went out and actually paid $2,000 for a computer, what that would do today compared to what it did 10 years ago is huge. Mm-hmm. So it's a much higher quality machine, and you can go out and buy a computer today for $500 that is comparable to the $2,000 computer of 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, probably.
It's amazing.
Or even 2 years ago. So they adjust for that. They adjust for all these little nuances and stuff and come up with these numbers. So my opinion is you look at all this stuff, you can manipulate this stuff to no end to come up with a number that works for your argument on why we should hike rates or not hike rates. Mm-hmm. You can just play with this stuff all you want.
Yep.
And that's going to look at it. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Greg and I, we had a thing from the Wisconsin Farm Bureau, and they go out and look at this thing, and they get a basket of goods, and they look at what's the difference from a year before. Some things went up, some things went down. And inflation can be different in North Dakota versus South Dakota even, or Minnesota or Wisconsin. It can all be different. It depends upon what you buy personally. Do you drink a lot of milk? Do you eat eggs? Mm-hmm. Do you buy apples? Whatever it might be.
Part of the country you live in
will change your personal inflation rate.
If heating oil is higher and you live in the Northeast.
Yeah, you're Northeast. I mean, that's a big deal in Northeast because they heat everything with oil. Versus here, we've got mostly gas.
Natural gas. And in the South, it really depends on the weather.
Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
If you're living in Texas, I probably don't need it, San Diego, you need nothing.
Right.
San Diego is perfect. You don't need air conditioning.
You don't need clothes in San Diego.
Yeah. So it really is, your personal rate of inflation depends upon where you live, what you buy, what you use on a regular basis. Now, gas prices, a guy at work and I were talking about gas prices, is different even within the state of North Dakota. If you drive a lot and you live in Bismarck, it's going to cost, versus somebody that had the same job in Fargo, you're going to be cheaper in Fargo because gas is 20 to 40 cents less in Fargo, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
and then you have the chicken and egg argument. Do rising prices cause inflation? Or does inflation cause rising prices?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no agreement on what really happens and the different definitions of it. And
cost push versus demand pull you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's no real agreement on how it really happens. There is some agreement mostly on the idea that it is potentially caused by money supply.
Yes.
An expansion of the money supply.
Yep.
That's one thing. But John Malden references this article Greg and I talked about from this Tony Sagami connecting the dots article list of how you can perceive inflation. a hearty breakfast devotee who ate eggs, which were up 72%, and toast up 25%, had a significantly different breakfast inflation experience from someone who liked Cheerios that were down 6% and milk that was down 13%.
I love it because commodity prices are going down, but egg prices are going up. My inflation rate's off the chart because I'm a huge egg eater. I'm not a big grain eater.
And there's the reason for the eggs was the bird flu.
The bird flu.
Yes. Yep. So chicken and eggs went up.
I like this.
The chicken and the egg went up.
I like this where, you know what? I can't wait till we come up with an app where you put in your diet and it tells you what your personal food inflation rate is.
Another idea for an app.
All right, who cares what my calorie intake is? I want to know what my inflation rate.
We want to know where Joe is, plus where he's eating.
What was my
today.
Breakfast inflation rate today?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right. Well, we come back more on this, and then we're going to talk about crime and the jobs report.
Oh, okay.
And we've got also some stuff on Freddie and who are the banks supporting for president.
Okay.
Right now, 37.
Super Talk 1270. On the go and wherever you are at supertalk1270.com.
We're rocking in the free world.
It's so free that someday you're going to have an app that calculates your own personal breakfast inflation rate.
There we go. That's a free world right there, and we're rocking.
Oh, man.
663-1270 if you have a question for Joe and I. Even if you have a question for Jim.
Even if you have an opinion.
And an opinion. We'd love to have an
And we're
opinion.
going to talk about who the banks are supporting for president.
Yeah, who?
And,
okay.
Crime reports.
What do you want to talk about first?
Well, let's finish this inflation thing.
Okay.
It says, is real inflation higher? And the group survey showed prices for the basic grocery list is rising 2.7% in the last year. And the reason why, folks, because exactly what we were talking about, Dave pointed out. Cheerios is down, eggs are up.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't.
What do I eat?
So, and it's what you eat. So it's, and that's alternative inflation. They actually talk about this in terms of looking at alternative inflation. And again, where does this really come out to? And I'll tell you where this is really going to come out to. What the Fed's going to do about interest rates in relationship to inflation from now on. The Fed almost, back under Bernanke, the Fed almost moved its connection to interest rates away from inflation wholly and connected it to what? Unemployment.
Unemployment, yeah.
And really what this is going to come down to is at what point are people spending money from a confidence perspective based on employment. That's really what's going to drive the Fed's decision. Inflation is almost now been equalized against two other things, and inflation I don't know is enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if inflation's enough because it depends on, and like we're pointing out, it's just like everything else in the world. It's like a Samsung phone, man. You can download any app you want and make it look almost however you want to.
Plus, now, as Evans said, we talked earlier, he's saying, well, global concerns enter into this too. So it's almost like they're prepping us for not raising rates now that there's been, like the probability has gone up so much.
Yep.
So,
all right. Well, let's talk about Freddie Mac.
Freddie Mac. They lost money, Joe.
They did.
The last quarter they lost, it was like $2 billion, wasn't it?
That's $475 million net loss for the third quarter.
Oh, 400. Okay, there was $2 billion from the last quarter. It was a $2 billion profit. Now they went to a loss of $400,000. Okay.
Due to losses it sustained on investments it uses to hedge against swings in interest rates.
Okay.
But Freddie cried out.
No,
Wait just a darn minute.
The whole story.
This is actually how Rob put it. Wait just a darn minute. He put it in quotes even.
Yeah.
We've had 15 straight profitable quarters. The loss mainly reflected accounting measures. While business is strong and continue to improve, both us and Fannie have been whittling down our mortgage holdings and transferring risky loans to private markets away from the taxpayers, and that is likely to reduce our revenue. Okay, they didn't actually say that, but they might have.
Yeah.
So Rob's point is, this is Rob Christman's blog, and what he's saying is, hey, listen, you're going to get the headline that Freddie lost money. Freddie lost money helping taxpayers out.
Mm-hmm. By lessening the risk to the taxpayer, which is what they're supposed to do.
Everybody wants to privatize the mortgage industry.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to get private money back in. So what does Freddie do? Freddie takes all its loans that it feels are the riskiest loans that it has, and it puts them into the private market. Yep. And the first headline is, Freddie's sucking
lost money. They're going to need another draw from the Treasury.
Wind.
Well, if you would have let us keep some of our capital and revenue that we've earned in the last 5 years, we'd have some money and we wouldn't make a draw.
And there has been $2.1 billion, as you pointed out, in net income in the prior years.
And Fannie came out like a couple days after that and said they had a gain, but not as large as it had been.
Right.
Yeah.
Freddie previously has paid $96.5 billion in dividends, exceeding its government bailout of $71 billion. That's a great return, and has certainly kept Congress from being in a hurry to push Freddie out of the nest. Besides, Freddie and Fannie can't be pushed out since they can't save any of their own money.
Yeah.
So basically, folks, here's the deal. The system worked.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Kind of did, didn't it?
The system worked. You had two government-sponsored entities that had an implied get-out-of-jail-free card, a bailout. They did. They had an implied bailout if something went wrong from the government. They wound up in trouble. They got their help from the government as a government-sponsored entity. Yep. The outcome was a almost 30%
return on billions of dollars.
Yeah, 30% return on billions of dollars in the bailout, with one of the entities being in a position to move the riskiest assets off its books away from the taxpayers in a quarter and sustain a sizable loss for the benefit of improving their portfolio to keep taxpayers safe. Wow. How come this success story? I mean, how is it? How is it that if you are a big government person, Democrat, I don't care, whatever, I don't know what party should be grabbing onto this, but if you're a big government person, how is it you are not trying to
shouting from the rooftops
story?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
No, you can have the argument that the government shouldn't be in the mortgage business. And I can understand that. You can have the argument. I can understand that. And you can.
They're really good at it.
But you shouldn't go back and say it didn't work, because it actually did. The
implied guarantees.
The implied guarantee worked. No, you can say we need to change that. We don't want to go through this again. And that's fine. Let's have that discussion and everything. But to say that the system didn't work really is wrong. I think that's true. I agree with you.
It is so successful that Congress is trying to figure out how to pay for everything else.
Well, which thankfully they didn't. The transportation bill got killed. They were going to charge mortgage customers 10 basis points more for another 10 years.
But it's so successful that in one of the largest financial crises in the history of the world, which we're still not through yet, as we pointed out with China at 1.3% inflation, and one of the biggest financial crises, global crises ever, our mortgage entities are back on track and have returned to 30% profit on the bailout out to the taxpayers, are in a position to protect taxpayers and improve their portfolios. And I don't know how you're not running out. If you're a big government person, I don't know how you're running out going, look at how good we do with government.
Yeah. And people are saying, well, they're going to need a bailout again now because they lost money. But if they would have been able to keep some of their revenue, they wouldn't need a bailout, right?
Well, hey, and here's the deal. Now here's where I don't understand my small or my private sector might make the money guys. Mm-hmm. If I gave you $60 and you handed me back $90, and you came back to me and needed another $60, what should I do?
I'll give you $60.
Give you another $60 so I can get back another $90.
Sounds like a good deal.
So if they do come asking for another bailout, sounds like the smartest thing we can do as taxpayers is hand them some more, because it looks like they know how to turn it into. It looks like they know how to make rain come out of the sky out of nowhere.
So far, so good.
Anyway, all right. So enough of that.
All right.
663-1270 if you want to call in and disagree with us, because all of a sudden we probably sound like big government guys. We're not either one, really, but I mean.
Yeah. But sometimes things work.
But sometimes I just don't understand the I don't understand each. I mean, it's like I love fruit, but I don't want a fruit plate.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's so kind of like, well, this. You know what? Let's get them out of here. They can do it on their own. Just let them do it on their own, and then we'll see what happens.
Now, as we talk about, jobs are one of the most important things when we're talking about mortgage market, interest rates. Housing is definitely connected to jobs.
Crime. There's crime in jobs.
Did you know that,
Jim? Did you know that?
Did you know there's crime in jobs? Dirty business jobs. But we talk a lot about jobs because we have forever talked about how we didn't believe interest rates were ever going to go up until we saw the jobs turn around.
Yep.
Everybody talked about the unemployment rate. The unemployment rate was improving.
Yep.
One of the reasons we've successfully predicted interest rates on this show for since 2011?
Oh,
12?
I think since 1902.
Yeah, really give us credit.
Yeah.
But we've successfully predicted what interest rates we're going to do on this show now for years, and part of it has been because we followed the jobs economy and not necessarily the interest rate economy. Here we are.
Okay.
And you got to tell them what Calvin Coolidge said
Oh,
about
well,
jobs. This is perfect.
Yeah, okay. This is a quote from U.S. President Calvin Coolidge, 1923 to 1929, as he was president. This was in his role as Mr. Obvious. His quote was, "When more and more people are thrown out of work, unemployment results." That just stands on its own.
And
he was echoed by
Edward Heath, the UK Prime Minister, who offered this little nugget: unemployment is of vital importance, particularly to the unemployed.
Wow. Oh, that's some.
You know who want?
I say stuff like this.
We on this show all the time.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we get into we got a couple minutes here before the break. We want to finish this up because we want to tell you who the banks are going to support for president, or who they're giving their money to anyway.
All right.
And we want to get to that story.
So anyway, but unemployment.
But what we've finally seen, folks, we've been talking about this for years now on our show, where the unemployment rate is simply like taking somebody's temperature, when what you really got is cancer. And so we've been saying the unemployment rate. Everybody keeps coming out with the unemployment rate, and the unemployment rate keeps going down. But why don't things get better? Yes. Well, just because the real problem is bigger than taking somebody's temperature, and the unemployment rate was never designed to give us a sustained reading on what the economy was doing over a long period of time where the economy is struggling. Mm-hmm. It's just a quick take your temperature kind of a reading. The U6 unemployment rate is the one that's been telling us the truth all along, and that's been in the double digits forever. We're finally seeing that come down.
Below 10.
It creeped below double digits.
Quarter, 9.8%.
It's out of double digits for the first time. Nobody ever talks about that unemployment rate because it's too complicated on the news. We finally saw a change. We're going to talk about that when we come back. And then we're going to tell you who the banks are supporting for president with their checkbook.
Right now, 39.
Bismarck Bobcats hockey action. Follow the Cats here on Super Talk 1270.
Bringing us in, Neil Young.
Yeah.
And Dave Floor, Joe Sheehan. Our last segment here on the Dakota Housing Network.
Okay.
And we're going to finish up this, the numbers behind the numbers on unemployment. Okay. We just talked about how finally part of the Fed's swagger in thinking that they might raise interest rates has to do with this right here. Okay. It has to do with the fact that for the first time we've seen the U6 unemployment number fall below double digits. Most people don't understand the real unemployment rate's really been over double digits. That's why we haven't seen improvement in the economy as the regular unemployment rate we talk about has continued to fall. Okay. And so let's talk about who the unemployed are and why it's going to be difficult to see it improve from here.
Let's just go through what makes up the unemployment or the employment numbers. People that are employed full time, it's 123 million. That's up 391,000 jobs since last month. That makes 49%. Working part time by choice, it's another 20 million. That's up 198,000 from last month. Working part-time because they can't find a full-time job or their hours were cut back, that's 5 million. Unemployed and actively looking for a job, you got almost 8 million. That's down. Unemployed but have stopped looking for a job within the past year, that's almost 2 million. That's down 5,000. Do not want a job, have not looked for one in the past year and can't work, 92.5 million. That's down 92,000 from last month. Okay, so that makes up the unemployment and employment numbers.
Which is like 7.9 million.
Okay.
Of the 157 million.
So the official rate of unemployment is 5%, and the U6 rate, the broader rate, is at 9.8, which finally dropped below the double digits, as we said. Okay,
and that includes everybody we're not counting, and that's why that's the one that matters so much.
Okay. All right.
So 933,000 people were temporary layoffs from permanent jobs. This one is really important. 34% of all non-working men ages 25 to 54. Why aren't they getting work?
Why?
They have a criminal record.
Yep.
That's the crime in the unemployment.
That's a big deal.
Yep.
With the
new technology, that we have, there's this liability of hiring somebody with a criminal background. Yeah. And nobody gets into the details. They just they get the background report, says you have a criminal record, and see you later.
They might look at what it was for. Like if you had DUIs, okay, we're probably not going to hire that person to be a cab driver or a bus driver. Okay, well, that makes sense.
And with as much as you're required to handle financial transactions now, if you've had any crime that involves any kind of financial, you're done.
Yeah, you're not going to get a job back in that industry. But a big deal is that transition from, because we're incarcerating more and more people, as people get out of that system, how do they transition out? You need a job to live.
And then this becomes that downward spiral inside some of the minority communities that are struggling, definitely, which is, the Black Matters Blacks Matter movement and all that stuff out there. And it continues to spiral.
But from the business standpoint of it, you have to, in this day and age, you have to look at that liability issue.
Yep.
And that's why that's
and even parents. I mean, now parents, some folks not looking for work because unless they can find...
That's a big one.
Unless they can find a job that's going to pay, they quote some of the average costs in some areas is $1,000 per month for child care.
Yeah.
So you cover $2,000 a month just to start out with for caring for your child if you're going to work.
So the dad and mom have to look at this. Okay, who's going to work, and is it worth it for one or both of us to not work? Does that make more sense? Because of child care is a big one, and they're maybe saying they're looking for a job but haven't got one, don't have a part-time job because they need to hold out for a job that's going to make sense for them, that's worth it. So that's a big deal.
Medical. So we're getting down to the only way that we're going to see employment improve is the folks who are sitting on the sidelines who aren't currently being counted getting back in the game, which is the labor participation rate that we've always been talking about.
Yep.
And so those folks have to get off the sidelines. They have to get back in the game to increase the employment pool, to put more money into the economy, to drive economic growth, to get the growth above 2.5%, and buy all those products from China so the Chinese economy can recover.
Yeah, there we go.
And, and bring us out of the global threat that may keep interest rates at dang near zero for the rest of our lifetime, it seems like.
Yeah. No, this one's a little scary. This is in John Malden's article. It's from Pew Research. Youngest part of the eligible workforce, and this is a little scary. You say it's a growing phenomenon. The share of 16 to 24-year-olds saying they didn't want a job rose from an average 29.5% in 2000 to an average of 39.4% over the first 10 months of this year. That's not good. I mean, you're 16 years old to 20s. You should be wanting to get out there and work and find out what you want to do in life. Do I want to be a mechanic? Do I want to be a mortgage lender? Do I want to do this?
Nobody wants to be a mortgage lender.
But exactly. Yeah, but that's why you want to find out, what do I want to do?
I spent one day as a mortgage lender to do that.
That's a little scary. Those are the people they should be out there finding out what they like, what they want to do, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we've got about 5-6 minutes left, so we should hit our final story on who's getting support from the banking industry.
Oh, for president?
Any guesses? Who's getting support from the banking industry?
Okay, on the Republican side or Democrat?
Let's go.
Which one first?
Let's go. Number one, who's getting more money, Democrats or Republicans?
I'm going to say Democrats.
Democrat Hillary Clinton is leading the pack, having raised $5.5 million from the sector.
Because it's focused.
Which includes donations from employees at commercial banks, securities and investment firms, insurance companies, hedge funds, and the real estate industry, according to the Center for Responsive Politics.
Because it's focused on her. Mm-hmm. Even though our Bernie Sanders.
Still surprising, though.
He's out there. He's still there. He's hanging in. But he's not big on going out and raising money, I don't think. I don't think that's his thing.
Well, not from banks.
No, not from banks, especially not from banks. Yeah. So that the Democrat side's focused on Hillary. Okay. So now Republican side, this might be interesting.
Okay.
So I'm going to guess.
Okay, go ahead.
There's so many to choose from. Are we still at 16?
Yeah.
Or did we lose anybody?
This is like a short straw race.
I don't know if we lost anybody.
It's like a short straw
I'm going to
race.
say
I'm going
to say Carly.
Okay.
Jeb.
All right.
You're saying Jeb? Okay.
According to Senator Jeb Bush.
Hey, Jimbo!
Of Florida remains the industry's favored GOP candidate with $4.2 million.
Ooh, he's right up there with
raised
Hillary.
from the sector. Yeah, with 16 other candidates. So,
wow, they
well,
like
you know, hey, listen, Trump has beat the banks at their own game so many times that there isn't a single bank looking to him to give him.
He got enough money of his own.
And he's utilized Chapter 11, so many times to restructure deals and leverage banks.
They probably wouldn't want to be negotiating with him on anything. Okay.
Jeb and Hillary are the financial industry's darlings. That's who they're supporting.
Okay.
And the Democrats, and at first, like what you said, it seems like it would make sense that she's just getting more because it's pooled that way.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the fact that Jeb's got $4.2 million already, maybe not. Mm-hmm. There may be some favoritism towards the way the financial industry sees
feel they've been treated by the Clintons and the Bushes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're hedging. Funny that the hedge funds, they're hedging on a Clinton. They're hedging on a Clinton.
Yeah,
victory.
well, definitely.
The financial sector wants stability, said Jeffrey Skelly, a political analyst in the University of Virginia Center for Politics. Having a track record being more predictable is what Clinton and Bush offer.
Yeah. Well,
we don't even have to read the articles anymore. We can write the articles by just getting the headline.
Yeah,
you and I. And
think about it. Really, since the first Bush, okay, you had that was okay. So that was the 88 to 92. Okay, things weren't bad. Clinton years, things were pretty good. Second Bush, pretty good. Obama, pretty good. They had a little hiccup here in the last few years, maybe, but with the regulations and that. But yeah, it's the stability for them. It's got to. They have to look at that and say, we got treated pretty good by those folks.
The banking industry, has also been active in giving to outside groups supportive of top candidates, contributing a total of $116.2 million for all races this election cycle. By far the most contributed by any single sector as of August. The industry had given $40.8 million to Right to Rise USA, a major Bush super PAC, according to CRP.
If Hillary didn't have the whole email Benghazi thing going on, she'd be locked right now, no question. But what's interesting, I think, is with Bush getting the most money from the sector is he hasn't been doing that well, is he? I mean,
no.
It's really right now it's Trump and Dr. Carson. So Bush hasn't been doing well, and that's been the news. He's struggled and everything, but he's still got time to make a comeback. Obviously,
Cruz, who is married to a managing director at Goldman Sachs, has raised more than $36 million from the financial industry, and Marco Rubio is at about $32.8 million.
Okay,
and what they're talking about here is this is from the PACs. Because as we talked about, the PACs have gotten like over $116.2 million, but still Hillary leading it by. It'll be
interesting to see if that changes down the road.
Well, here's what cracks me up. The financial industries are given the most right now. So the rule to legislatures, make bad laws that impact really rich sectors.
Apparently.
And next year they'll give you way more money
to
run for office.
Okay, I'm confused now. Okay. Anyway, what's next week? Are we on?
I don't think. Are we?
No, it must be Brian. No, it's Brian. Brian's on. We don't know what Brian's going to do. He'll probably have some guests.
That's the version of you get the two really dumb guys and then Brian comes in.
Yeah. So next week will be great, folks. Yeah. Okay.
Next week's great.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Talk
All
to you
right.
later.